Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is crack open the box and have a look at what our hard-earned £100 gets us. So, pretty economical looking, but entirely functional. Let's open it up and see what we get. So one of the things to note is that the cellophane here has been cut open. I would note that if you are in the UK, that is completely normal. These come at about 400 feet per second out of the factory, well above UK limits. So airsoft retailers do have to cut them open, stick a new spring in and downgrade them. So if you do get one and this is open, it is new. It just had to be downgraded. So what have we got here? So we've got, of course, the replica itself and a selection of accessories. So let's go left to right and have a look at what we get in the box before we move on to the replica. So first thing that we get is 2 high-capacity magazines. Now, it used to be the case with these Cyma AKs that you used to get a battery and charger, a terrible battery and charger at that. Nowadays, Cyma have moved away from giving that and now give you 2 high-capacity magazines instead of 1. These are about 550 rounds, meaning that just out of the box, you're running with the potential of about 1,100 rounds, which is absolutely fantastic for a beginner, well enough for a game day, and you can just fill these up as you go. Brilliant to have 2 of these, and a good move by Cyma to replace that battery and charger with an extra high-capacity magazine. The next thing we get is a pretty cheap looking sling. Now, normally I would advise not using these. However, because this replica is so light, this might actually be okay, but use it at your own risk. The next thing that we get is a Dean's to Tamiya adapter. This will allow you to use Dean's LiPo Li-Fi batteries, which is absolutely fantastic. Dean's is gradually becoming the new airsoft standard, so the fact that you get an adapter so you can future-proof this AK straight out of the box, really useful. The next thing that we've got is a winding key for the high-capacity magazines. Now, these are a little bit old school, you don't tend to see these a lot anymore, but quite useful to have. Because yes, on the field, you're not going to be screwing about trying to use a little key to wind up your high-capacity magazines in a firefight, but in the safe area, when you're getting ready, this makes it a lot faster to wind those high-capacity magazines and ultimately gets you out in the game quicker. So actually quite useful to have this. The next thing we've got is a pack of BBs. Now, I don't know what weight these are, and I don't know what quality they are. And if you're not sure, don't put them in your replica. So my advice for these, honestly, get rid. And then the last thing that we get here is 2 packs of forbidden sugar. Don't eat this, guys. Right, so then let's move on to the replica itself and have a bit more of a detailed look. Now, we'll do what Gun YouTube does. We'll go tip to butt. And the first thing to mention is overall, this replica, the vast majority of it is made of plastic. Yes, the outer barrel, the sling loop, both front and rear, the fire selector, the dust cover latch here, all of these things are metal, along with, of course, the screws and stuff themselves, but the vast majority of this replica is plastic. That said, if I just give it a bit of a squeeze, give it a bit of a flex, as you can see here, I'm really giving it some welly. Not a lot of movement, not a lot of creaking. Not bad for that price range. So even though it is plastic, I'm actually quite impressed by just how this feels out of the box. So, what have we got? So at the front, we've got an AK style front sight post. I would note there is no adapter on here to put a silencer or a tracer unit on. This is a single solid piece. So just bear that in mind that if you do get this, you're not going to be able to put anything on the front of it. We move on to, of course, that metal front sling loop, followed by this wrist handguard, which has wrist 20mm Picatinny rails in the 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and the 9 o'clock positions. This is fantastic. You can put a foregrip on this, you can put a red dot sight in the front, you can put a laser, you can put a torch on there. The fact that you get full wrist coverage straight out of the box means this has some serious accessory potential, which is great. The next thing we have the rear sight post. It is adjustable. That said, at the ranges we're dealing with on airsoft, you're not really going to need to use that. If anything, it would be more advisable to get that dot sight on the front just for that quick target acquisition rather than trying to use the iron sights on this thing. But nonetheless, it is there if you do want to use it. Coming to the middle of the receiver, and the first thing that we've got, if we move this fire selector, it's really quite clicky, really quite snappy, which is nice to see, not loose at all. And if we move the dust cover back, you can see here we've got our slider style AK hop unit wherever you move it back and forth like this, you can put more or less hop on the replica. Pretty standard, pretty common in AKs, this style of hop unit, so no problem there. Now, if we remove the dust cover, we can see that we've got a cover on top of the gearbox, and then if we move to the rear, something I'm really pleased to see, a quick change spring system. Now, the fact that a sub £100 replica now as standard comes with a quick change spring system, absolutely fantastic. It means you can do those upgrades, those downgrades. Maybe you need to make your gun more or less powerful, depending on whether you're doing skirmish or CQB. But the fact that you can get that at this price range is awesome. It's nice to be able to change the power of this gun without needing the support of a tech, especially if you're a beginner just learning for the first time. So moving back, as I said before, you've got, of course, your rear sling loop in metal. You've got a nice looking pistol grip, which is actually surprisingly comfortable to use, before we come on to the rear buttstock. Now, this is a full stock, completely hollow, so there's a lot of room there for, if we just pull this cover down, battery space. You can see there, tons of room. There's not a lot that's not going to fit into that. And the fact that you get that Dean's adapter means even though this is by default Tamiya and with fuse, you can pretty much use any battery you like in this thing. Now, my recommendation would be to go a little bit conservative on the battery, try something like a 7.4. You don't want to push this thing too hard because one of the things that this thing doesn't have inside is a MOSFET. But overall, there's certainly a lot of options with what you can do with this thing. So, the most important thing is not how it feels or how it looks or what accessory potential it has, but how does it actually perform? And for that, we're going to need to go out onto the field. So I'll see you there.